The models have changed overnight, and America could be entering one of its most unpredictable weather patterns in years. There are moments when weather experts start paying closer attention because something unusual is developing behind the scenes. This is one of those moments. Across the tropical Pacific Ocean, temperatures are rising faster than expected. Global forecasting models are becoming increasingly confident, and climate scientists are watching one of the strongest large-scale weather drivers on Earth begin to reshape the atmosphere. This isn't just another forecast update or a routine seasonal outlook. It is the beginning of a pattern that could influence every major weather event across the nation. It's a season defined by extremes. It could influence heat waves, severe thunderstorms, flooding, drought, wildfire danger, and even the upcoming hurricane season across the United States. If current trends continue, millions of Americans could experience weather that looks very different from what they expected only a few months ago. Most people hear the words El Niño every few years, but never really understand what it means. They assume it simply brings more rain somewhere or changes winter weather. The reality is far more complicated. El Niño is one of the most powerful climate patterns on the planet. When ocean temperatures become unusually warm across the Pacific, they begin changing the position of the jet stream high above North America. That shift affects where storms travel, where heat builds, and where drought expands. One area of warm ocean has the ability to influence nearly the entire country. That shift affects where storms travel, where heat builds, and where drought expands. One area of warm ocean has the ability to influence nearly the entire country. Over the past several weeks, forecasters have watched sea surface temperatures continue climbing, while atmospheric conditions have steadily aligned. Computer guidance from several international forecasting centers now points toward continued strengthening through the coming months. While scientists still debate its intensity, there is growing agreement that El Niño is no longer just a possibility. It is an increasingly important factor in nearly every long-range weather forecast issued for North America. That matters because the atmosphere rarely changes overnight. Instead, it slowly rearranges itself like a giant machine shifting gears. As those gears turn, familiar weather patterns can change. Areas that have been unusually dry may begin seeing repeated rounds of heavy rain, storm clouds gathering over a previously calm rural town. Regions accustomed to quiet summers could experience stronger thunderstorms. Meanwhile, others may enter prolonged periods of dangerous heat. The impacts don't arrive all at once. They build over weeks and months until people suddenly realize the weather feels completely different. One of the first signs of that transition is already appearing across the central United States, with repeated storm systems tracking from the Rockies. During recent weeks, these systems have produced rounds of severe thunderstorms, damaging winds, hail, flash flooding, and tornadoes. As warmer, moisture-rich air from the Gulf of Mexico collides with cooler air from the west, the atmosphere becomes increasingly unstable. That instability provides the fuel thunderstorms need to organize into powerful supercells capable of producing destructive weather. Meteorologists are also paying close attention to changes occurring thousands of feet above the ground. The jet stream, which acts like a highway steering weather systems across North America, is expected to become more active as Pacific influences strengthen. Instead of quiet weather, this pattern can repeatedly send disturbances across the plains, Midwest, Great Lakes, and eventually the Northeast. Forecasters are emphasizing that this may not be a one-time event, but rather a pattern capable of producing multiple episodes of active weather throughout much of the summer. For residents across states like Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, staying weather-aware may become increasingly important. These regions already experience volatile weather, but a more active jet stream with abundant Gulf moisture can significantly increase thunderstorm frequency. Large hail, damaging winds, isolated tornadoes, and flash flooding could all become recurring concerns whenever strong storm systems move through. Large hail, damaging winds, isolated tornadoes, and flash flooding could all become recurring concerns whenever strong storm systems move through. Meanwhile, another completely different story may unfold across much of the western United States. While the central and eastern portions of the country battle repeated storms, large areas from California through Nevada, Utah, Arizona, Oregon, Idaho, and parts of Washington could spend long stretches beneath persistent high pressure. Large areas from California through Nevada, Utah, Arizona, Oregon, Idaho, and parts of Washington could spend long stretches beneath persistent high pressure. High-pressure systems act like giant atmospheric lids, suppressing cloud development while allowing sunshine to dominate day after day. Without frequent rainfall, soil dries rapidly, vegetation becomes increasingly stressed, and wildfire danger begins climbing. Even locations that receive occasional rainfall during the spring can quickly become vulnerable once extended periods of heat settle in. The combination of hot temperatures, low humidity, gusty afternoon winds, and exceptionally dry vegetation creates the type of environment where small fires can spread with astonishing speed. Fire agencies closely monitor these conditions because once they align, it takes only a spark from lightning, equipment, or human activity to ignite rapidly expanding wildfires. If El Niño continues evolving as projected, portions of the West may face an elevated wildfire threat later this summer, especially if prolonged heat waves develop beneath persistent ridging. Cities that routinely experience triple-digit temperatures may see those conditions arrive earlier and persist longer than average. Cities that routinely experience triple-digit temperatures may see those conditions arrive earlier and persist longer than average. Extended heat events place significant stress on electrical grids, agriculture, transportation systems, and public health. For many communities, nighttime temperatures become just as important as daytime highs because warm nights prevent buildings and pavement from cooling, allowing heat stress to accumulate over consecutive days. At the same time, humidity across the Gulf Coast and southeastern United States may make already hot conditions feel even more uncomfortable. Even days with temperatures in the lower 90s can feel well above 100 degrees when humidity is high. This combination increases the risk of heat exhaustion and heat-related illness, particularly for those spending extended time outdoors. Another major question surrounding El Niño involves the Atlantic hurricane season. Historically, stronger El Niño events often increase upper-level wind shear. Wind shear refers to changes in wind speed and direction with height, and tropical cyclones generally struggle to organize when strong shear is present. Because of that relationship, some seasonal forecasts suggest the Atlantic could experience fewer hurricanes than average if El Niño strengthens substantially during the peak months of August through October. Ocean temperatures across parts of the Atlantic remain exceptionally warm, providing abundant energy for tropical development. Some researchers argue that unusually warm Atlantic waters could partially offset the suppressing influence of El Niño. Others believe strengthening Pacific influences will eventually dominate. The truth is that both factors are being carefully monitored, and the balance between them will likely determine how active the season ultimately becomes. Even during quieter hurricane seasons, it only takes one landfalling storm to produce catastrophic damage, which is why preparedness remains essential regardless of seasonal forecasts. Looking beyond summer, El Niño's influence often extends into autumn and winter, affecting snowfall patterns, rainfall distribution, and temperatures across the country. Looking beyond summer, El Niño's influence often extends into autumn and winter, affecting snowfall patterns, rainfall distribution, and temperatures across the country. While it is far too early to know exactly how next winter will unfold, the atmospheric groundwork is already being laid months in advance. That's one reason scientists spend so much time studying changes in the tropical Pacific. Those waters often provide some of the earliest clues about weather patterns that may not fully emerge until many months later. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of this developing situation is how interconnected Earth's climate system truly is. Everything is connected through an incredibly complex atmospheric system that never stops changing. Warm water thousands of miles away influences the position of the jet stream. The jet stream alters storm tracks. Storm tracks determine where rain falls, where drought develops, where crops succeed, where rivers flood, and where wildfire danger increases. For families across America, the most important takeaway isn't fear, it's awareness. Weather patterns evolve, forecasts improve, and preparation always provides the greatest advantage. Whether your concern is severe thunderstorms across the Midwest, wildfire danger in the West, dangerous heat across the South, flooding along rivers, or tropical systems near the Gulf Coast, staying informed allows you to respond before conditions become dangerous instead of after they already have. As we move deeper into summer, meteorologists will continue monitoring every new model run, every ocean temperature update, and every shift in the jet stream. One thing is becoming increasingly clear. The atmosphere is entering a transition period that could shape weather across the United States for many months to come. The coming weeks will reveal whether this developing El Niño strengthens into one of the more significant climate events of recent years, or settles into a more moderate pattern. Either way, its fingerprints are already beginning to appear across the forecast maps. If current projections continue trending in the same direction, this summer may be remembered not for one single storm, but for a season defined by extremes, from powerful thunderstorms and flash floods to dangerous heat, expanding drought, wildfire risk, and an atmosphere that refuses to settle down. Sometimes the biggest weather story isn't the storm outside your window today. It's the slow-moving climate pattern, quietly changing what tomorrow may look like across an entire continent. So as the calendar moves forward, keep one eye on your local forecast and the other on the bigger picture. Because sometimes the biggest weather story isn't the storm outside your window today, it's the slow-moving climate pattern, quietly changing what tomorrow may look like across an entire continent. One of the biggest questions people are asking right now is whether this developing El Niño could actually make weather more extreme across the United States. The answer is more complicated than a simple yes or no. El Niño doesn't create storms by itself, nor does it automatically guarantee record-breaking heat or flooding. Instead, it changes the background environment in which weather systems develop. Think of it like changing the playing field before the game even begins. When the atmosphere becomes more favorable for certain weather patterns, storms that normally would have been weaker can become more organized, rainfall events can last longer, and heat waves can become more persistent. That is why meteorologists spend so much time studying these ocean temperature changes months before their most noticeable impacts arrive. Another major concern is the possibility of repeated flooding events. When the jet stream locks in, storm systems often follow nearly the same path over and over again. Meteorologists call this training, where thunderstorms repeatedly move across the same counties, dropping inches of rain in only a few hours. Urban areas become especially vulnerable because pavement and buildings prevent water from soaking into the ground. Instead, runoff rushes into storm drains that can quickly become overwhelmed. Communities that rarely experience flooding sometimes find themselves underwater simply because the atmosphere keeps delivering one storm after another. Agriculture is another area where El Niño's influence can become incredibly important. Farmers across the Midwest depend on a delicate balance of sunshine and rainfall during the growing season. If forecasts for above-average rainfall verify across portions of the Corn Belt, farmers may face difficult decisions regarding planting schedules, irrigation, fertilizer application, and harvest timing. Agriculture has always depended on weather, but during years influenced by strong climate patterns like El Niño, those decisions become even more challenging. Water resources may also experience dramatic shifts depending on location. Reservoirs in drought-stricken regions desperately need rainfall, but sudden heavy downpours often produce more runoff than usable water. Instead of slowly replenishing groundwater supplies, torrential rainfall frequently races into rivers and streams before quickly flowing downstream. Meanwhile, other regions may receive far less precipitation than average, allowing reservoirs to continue dropping despite isolated storms. This uneven distribution of rainfall is one reason water managers monitor seasonal climate forecasts so closely throughout the year. Energy demand is expected to become another major story if long-duration heat develops across large sections of the country. During prolonged hot weather, millions of homes and businesses rely on air conditioning almost continuously. If several major metropolitan areas experience extreme heat at the same time, power grids can come under considerable stress. Utility companies often prepare months in advance by increasing capacity, scheduling maintenance, and encouraging customers to reduce electricity usage during periods of highest demand. Utility companies often prepare months in advance by increasing capacity, scheduling maintenance, and encouraging customers to reduce electricity usage during periods of highest demand. The transportation sector also feels the effects of persistent heat and severe weather. High temperatures can soften pavement, expand bridge joints, and even cause rail lines to buckle under extreme conditions. Repeated thunderstorms bring lightning delays, airport disruptions, flash flooding on highways, and hazardous driving conditions. Airlines, trucking companies, rail operators, and emergency managers all pay close attention to long-range weather outlooks because major atmospheric patterns often influence transportation networks across multiple states simultaneously. Heat-related illnesses typically increase during extended hot spells, particularly among older adults, young children, and individuals with chronic medical conditions. At the same time, repeated flooding can create additional health concerns by contaminating water supplies, damaging homes, and increasing mosquito populations in standing water after storms. Wildfire smoke presents another growing challenge. Even fires burning hundreds of miles away can send thick smoke across multiple states, reducing air quality for millions of people. One area receiving increasing attention from climate researchers is the possibility of weather extremes occurring simultaneously across different parts of the country. Imagine one region experiencing record heat while another battles catastrophic flooding. At the same time, a third region could be facing severe drought while powerful thunderstorms develop elsewhere. Instead of responding to a single event, agencies may find themselves coordinating responses across several states dealing with completely different weather emergencies. As summer progresses into late July and August, attention will gradually shift toward how El Niño continues evolving beneath the ocean surface. Scientists monitor far more than just sea surface temperatures. They analyze subsurface heat content, atmospheric pressure patterns, trade wind strength, ocean currents, and satellite observations that help determine whether warming is continuing, stabilizing, or weakening. Each new dataset helps improve seasonal forecasts, although uncertainty always remains. Nature has a way of surprising even the most advanced forecasting systems, which is why meteorologists continuously update their outlooks instead of relying on a single prediction made months earlier. Historically, stronger El Niño events have shaped winter storm tracks, snowfall patterns, and temperature anomalies across North America. While it is still far too early to make detailed winter forecasts, scientists already understand that the atmospheric changes beginning today can have ripple effects lasting many months. That is why climate researchers are paying such close attention to every update coming from the tropical Pacific. The bottom line is this: America appears to be entering a weather pattern that demands attention. Some communities may benefit from much-needed rainfall after prolonged drought. Others could face repeated severe thunderstorms, dangerous flash flooding, intense heat, or heightened wildfire conditions. No single forecast can tell every community exactly what will happen months in advance, but the larger climate signals are becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. The picture will become clearer. No single forecast can tell every community exactly what will happen, but the larger climate signals are becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. As new data arrives over the coming days and weeks, the picture will become clearer. Until then, staying informed, understanding your local risks, and preparing ahead of time remain the best defenses against whatever this changing atmosphere has in store. Stay prepared for whatever this changing atmosphere has in store. Because tomorrow is being shaped today, thousands of miles away.